Ypres, Belgium, October 1914. A 23-year-old private named Henry Tandey ran through open ground under fire to carry a wounded man back to the line. He would do it again and again over the next 4 years, at Ypres, at Passchendaele, at Marcoing, until Britain ran out of ways to decorate a man for courage. By September 1918, Tandey already held the Distinguished Conduct Medal and the Military Medal. At Marcoing, France, on September 28th, he crawled forward alone to knock out a machine gun position, rebuilt a bridge under fire so his company could cross the canal, and led a bayonet charge that drove 37 enemy soldiers into captivity. For that single day, he was awarded the Victoria Cross. On paper, it made him the most decorated British private soldier of the entire war. There's a detail from that same afternoon that has nothing to do with the medal. As the fighting wound down, a wounded German soldier stumbled into Tandey's line of fire, unarmed, barely able to stand. Tandey had a clear shot. He didn't take it. He said later he didn't like to shoot at a wounded man and let him walk away. Nobody thought much of it. Mercy on a battlefield wasn't rare, and Tandey didn't write it down as anything special. It should have ended there. One small kindness in 4 years that had almost none to spare. 20 years later, a story started moving through British newspapers. In 1938, Neville Chamberlain visited Adolf Hitler in Bavaria to negotiate the Munich Agreement. According to the story, Hitler kept a print of a 1923 war memorial painting on his study wall, showing a British soldier carrying a wounded man out of the mud at Ypres in 1914. That soldier was Henry Tandey. Hitler is said to have pointed at it and told Chamberlain this was the man who'd had him in his sights near Marcoing in 1918 and let him live. There's no diary entry, no letter, no phone record. Tandey didn't own a telephone. Military archives in Bavaria show Hitler was on leave during the exact days the story requires him to be standing in front of Tandey's rifle. Historians who've gone looking for proof have found a rumor with no floor under it. That's the record. Here's what the record doesn't sit with. In August 1939, a newspaper asked Tandey about it directly. He said, "According to them, I've met Adolf Hitler. Maybe they're right, but I can't remember him." He didn't believe it. He couldn't disprove it either. 14 months later, the Luftwaffe bombed Coventry. Tandey's own house was one of the ones reduced to rubble. A reporter found him standing in what was left of it and asked him again. This time, he answered differently. He said, "If only I had known what he would turn out to be. When I saw all the people and women and children he had killed and wounded, I was sorry to God I let him go. And then I'd give 10 years now to have 5 minutes of clairvoyance then." Henry, Nobody can tell you, even now, whether the man in your sights at Marcoing was Adolf Hitler. The record won't hold still long enough to say yes or no. But you spent the rest of your life carrying the question anyway, standing in your own bombed street, wondering if the same instinct that made you a hero was the one thing that let the worst man of the century keep breathing. You didn't ask for that weight. You were already the most decorated private soldier Britain sent to that war, and somehow that got smaller than a story you couldn't confirm and couldn't take back. We've told a story like this once before on this show. A pilot named Franz Stigler, who spared an enemy bomber and spent 50 years not knowing what became of the men inside, until he finally did, and it turned into friendship. Yours never got that ending. You never got to find out. We don't know if you had him. We know you had mercy, and you never got to find out what it cost. We salute you, Henry, for the men you carried out of the mud at Ypres, for Marcoing, for every version of this story, true or not. History already owed you the medal. We're just trying to give you back the man underneath it.
1914, Belgian mud. A boy runs through the rain and blood, carries a stranger on his back. No time to ask what soldiers lack. They painted him for it years later, froze him there, forever brave, never knowing one day a picture would follow him beyond the grave. Marcoing, the guns went quiet. A wounded man stood in his sight. He'd earned a cross for less that morning. One more wouldn't make it right. So he lowered the barrel, let him wander, one mercy among 1,000 more. He never wrote it down as different, never knew what it was for. 5 minutes of clairvoyance, that's all he ever asked. To know if the man he let go living was the monster wearing the mask. But some mercies don't come with answers. Some choices just come with a cost. And he carried the not knowing longer than the war he'd lost. 1940, Coventry burning. His own roof came down in the dark. He stood where his kitchen used to be and felt something come apart. I was sorry to God I let him go, is all a broken man could say. Not for the mercy, but for the wondering that never went away. They gave him a cross for the bridge he built, the gun nest, the charge he led. But history only remembers the maybe and buries the truth instead. Somewhere a medal sits in a case right next to a myth that grew, and nobody thought to ask the difference between what's false and true. 5 minutes to lay the wondering to rest. But some mercies don't come with answers. Some choices just come with a cost. And a good man kept on carrying a question he never lost. Somewhere in Warwickshire, a private still carrying a man. Somewhere in Coventry, a house is dust again. And somewhere in between them, a soldier asks the sky if mercy makes you righteous, or if mercy makes you cry. 5 minutes, that's all he asked.